Hello, welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi from Tractate Masechet Bekhorot Daf 32 on B. I'm just going to start from the end of the last Amud. The Sanya. This says the Torah provides a dedication as long as they are in the owner's possession, and like consecrated property in all respects, as is stated. Every dedicated item is most holy to the Lord. Leviticus 27:28. Once the owner gave them to the priest, they are like non-sacred property in all respects. As is stated, every dedicated item in Israel should be for you. Numbers 18:14. However, continues accordingly concerning the phrase, it may not be redeemed that the Muslim one writes, why do I need it? If it is not referring to the matter of dedications, as can be inferred from the Bible, apply it to the matter of the animal tithe offering, teaching that they may not be sold. The Gemara raises a difficulty. One can say that instead of applying it to the animal tithe offering, apply it to the matter of a firstborn offering. So what's the footnote? Im Eina Inyan Li Nehu Inyan. This form of reasoning is one of the 32 hermeneutical principles of Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, which, according to most commentaries, are as authoritative as if their conclusion were explicitly written in the Torah Yad Malachi. This principle is based on the superfluity of verses in the context in which they were written. It should be noted that the verse is never applied to matters totally unrelated to the meaning of the verse. The Gemara rejects this possibility. The prohibition against selling extends to the animal tithe offering, concerning which the expression of redemption is written, just like dedications, which is not so concerning the firstborn offering. Rav actually says that the prohibition against selling the animal tithe offering is not derived from dedication, but rather it is from the case of the animal tithe offering itself. The phrase "it may not be redeemed," written with regard to the animal tithe offering, is to be understood as meaning it may not be sold. Rav Ashi further says, from where do I say this? As it is written, then both it and that for which it is substituted shall be holy, it shall not be redeemed. Leviticus 27:33. Rav Ashi elaborates, when does the animal tithe offering render a non-sacred animal for which it is exchanged consecrated as a substitute? Only when the animal tithe offering is alive. Similarly, when may the animal tithe offering may not be redeemed by its owner? Only when it is alive, which indicates that it may be redeemed after its slaughter. But when redeeming a sanctified animal, it requires standing and evaluation, i.e. it has to be set standing before the priest before him to evaluate it, and only then it is redeemed. See Leviticus 27:11-12. How then can the animal tithe offering be redeemed after having been slaughtered? Rav Ashi continues, well, the conclusion from this verse that the phrase "it may not be redeemed" is not referring to redemption, rather it is actually understood as "it may not be sold." Accordingly, the prohibition against selling the animal tithe offering is in effect only while it is alive, as is the halacha with regard to a substitute. But once it is slaughtered, it may be sold. The Gemara raises a difficulty. This works so well according to the one who says that animals consecrated to be sacrificed on the altar, though disqualified due to a blemish, were included in the requirement of standing and evaluation. But according to the one who says that animals consecrated to be sacrificed on the altar, that were disqualified due to a blemish, were not included in the requirement of standing and evaluation. What does it say? According to his opinion, the phrase "it may not be redeemed" can be interpreted literally in contrast to Rav Ashi's claim. The Gemara explains, this is what we said. This, i.e., this is what we meant. The phrase "it may not be redeemed" cannot be understood literally, as is there ever an instance where an animal may not be redeemed when alive, and yet it may be redeemed after its slaughter? Since such a scenario is impossible, the verse must be referring to the prohibition against selling. The Gemara asks, but why can it not be said that the animal may be redeemed only after its slaughter? One can claim that when the animal is alive, since its sanctity is strong, it is logical to say that it may not be redeemed. Conversely, after its slaughter, when its sanctity is weak, it is logical to claim that it may be redeemed. If so, the phrase can be understood literally. The Gemara rejects this contention. But isn't the opposite claim, that a slaughtered animal tithe offering may not be redeemed, based on a fortiori inference? If when the animal tithe offering is alive and its sanctity is strong enough to transfer that sanctity to its redemption money, just as it renders a non-sacred animal consecrated as a substitute, nevertheless it may not be redeemed, then after its slaughter, when its sanctity is not strong enough to transfer the sanctity to its redemption money, as at this stage it cannot render a non-sacred animal consecrated as a substitute, should it be able to be redeemed? In other words, the fact that the substitution can be effected only with a living animal indicates that a strong sanctity is more easily transferable to another item than a weak sanctity. Well, the conclusion from this that the phrase "it may not be redeemed" is actually to be understood as meaning that it may not be sold. The Gemara raises a difficulty, but if so, let the Muslim one write explicitly "it may not be sold." The Gemara answers, had the Mishnah written it may not be sold, I would say that the animal tithe offering only may not be sold, as one who does so performs an act of a non-sacred item. By treating the consecrated animal in the same manner as a non-sacred animal and transferring its value to non-sacred money. But I would say that it may be redeemed, as in this manner its value becomes consecrated. Therefore, in order to counter this notion, the Mishnah writes it may not be redeemed, which teaches both that the animal tithe offering may not be sold and that it may not be redeemed. Beis Shammai say an Israelite cannot be counted with the priest to partake of a blemished firstborn, and Beis Hillel deem it permitted for him to partake of it, and they deem it permitted even for a Gentile to partake of a blemished firstborn. Towards the footnote, Beis Hillel mitim v'afilu goy. It is permitted for a priest to share the meat of a blemished, richly pure firstborn with whomever he chooses, including a Gentile. It is also permitted to feed the meat to dogs. The reason is that the meat is considered non-sacred and the personal property of the priest to whom it was given. This ruling is a contrary opinion based on Rabbi Akiva. Rambam Sefer Korban Hilchot Bekhorot 365. The Mishnah teaches that Beis Hillel deem it permitted even for a Gentile to partake of a blemished firstborn offering. The Gemara says, whose opinion expressed in the Mishnah? It's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, as is taught in a Braita. In the case of a blemished firstborn offering, only a group constituted entirely of priests can be counted to partake of it. This is the statement of Beis Shammai. And Beis Hillel say the group may even be constituted of non-priests. Rabbi Akiva said that Beis Hillel deemed it permitted even for a Gentile to partake of a blemished firstborn. Evidently, Beis Hillel's opinion in the Mishnah is a contrary to Rabbi Akiva's explanation in this Braita. The Gemara explains, what is the reason Beis Shammai? As it is written in a verse discussing the firstborn offering addressed to Aaron and his sons, but the firstling of an ox, or the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat you shall not redeem. They are holy, and the flesh shall be yours, as a wave breast and as the right thigh it shall be yours. In Numbers 18:17-18. Just as there was regard to the breast and the thigh, priest may partake of it, but an Israelite, a non-priest, may not. As there are states, you shall eat in a pure place, you and your sons and your daughters with you. Leviticus 10:14. So to here, with regard to the firstborn offering, only priest may partake of it, but an Israelite might not. That's the end of the Amud. Thank you for listening and wish you all the best. Bye.